So I want to address what happened on Dynamite tonight, and that is the Saraya Toni Storm heel turn, which pretty much was hinted at with a backstage interview where basically they were talking down the AEW homegrown talent of the women's division, with Hikaru Shida right there, kind of like in shock, like, what are you doing? What are you talking about? Why are you acting like this all of a sudden? Well, what that resulted in was Toni Storm taking on Willow Nightingale. Decent match. Toni Storm won, not clean, but thanks to a distraction by Saraya, the former Page, getting on the apron and allowing Toni Storm to roll up Willow and you know, get the win by holding on to the tights. Then afterwards, Saraya goes in there and attacks Willow. She's getting up via the aprons, pulling herself up. She attacks her and starts beating down on her. Toni Storm joins in. Hikaru Shida gets up on the apron. She's like, "What are you doing?" It's like, I don't get this." And then Ruby Soho comes down and runs them off. And you hear Saraya looking up at Ruby and going like, "Really? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?" Hinting at the fact that out of all people, on that roster, that Ruby should understand, where she and Tony are coming from. So what it looks like, apparently to a lot of people, that's going on right now is the women are about to have kind of a, I guess you could say, an NWO invaders, outsiders like feud going on, where you're going to have basically you're going to basically have the outsiders, the NWO, if you will, of Saraya, Toni Storm, and whoever they get to join their side against the AEW originals. Now, a lot of people, Solomonster's predicting this. I'm pretty sure JD, I'm currently watching him right now. I just got it on mute so I can do this video. I'm sure he'll predict it. Alex, I think, is kind of hinting at it. They all believe that Ruby is going to join their side since she's kind of like, cut from that same mold that Saraya and Toni are, and that's being ex WWE women superstars. So we'll see what they do, but I think with Ruby's kind of like the wild card, if you will, because anytime we've seen these kind of invading like storylines, these kind of like you know the homegrown talent against the former ex stars of another company, that anytime we've seen it, there's always been that one wild card person that you would think would go and join the invaders side and all that, but instead ends up being back or ends up staying with the homegrown talent. And I think that's what they're doing with Ruby. I think that's what they're doing with Ruby because if we go back to the invasion storyline, and I know people don't like to, people don't like to talk about that a lot. They teased, okay, that Big Show would go back to WCW. He didn't. He stayed with WWE. People teased Chris Jericho would join, but he didn't. It made it look like he joined at Survivor Series, but that was just out of frustration, anger, whatever. So they made certain superstars look like they might jump over and join WCW and all that, but they didn't to an extent. Heck, when they threw ECW into the mix, people made it look like, okay, they're going to have Tajiri jump since he's an ECW guy, but he didn't. The point is, they're kind of putting Ruby, I think, in a position to where, um, I think they're putting Ruby into a position to where she's either going to join, and be part of this invasion group, or what's going to happen is she's going to stick with the AEW originals because she feels more at home with them. Because we got to also remember Ruby, out of those three on screen tonight, um, Ruby came in before Saraya. She came in before Toni Storm, so she's more at home, I guess you could say. She's more at home, I guess you could say, with the AEW women's locker room, to the point that she probably feels like, she belongs there. Like, this is her home. Like, she is an original, even though she came from WWE. So I think she's being put in that position to where she might, to where she, to where she might, make it look like I was saying, sorry about that, but like I said, I think what they're doing is they're putting Ruby into that position to where, they, depending on where they want to go with this, she may go in turn or she may remain. And again, like I said, we got to remember, she was with the AEW original, she was with the AEW women's division before, before, Saraya and Toni Storm showed up. So again, she probably feels more at home, more comfortable with the women's division, and probably feels like, she could be looked at as a homegrown talent, even though she's technically not, because she comes from WWE. So that's something we can look in. So that's one thing we can pay attention to. Solomos is predicting that if we get a tag team match in the next couple of weeks, that's when Ruby would turn on Willow and join with Toni and Saraya, but I'm not entirely sure. Now, they did throw out another scenario. A lot of people throwing out another scenario that Merecdes Mone could be part of this, and that, potentially this is why we have this sudden heel turn that some people are kind of confused about. Like, why are we going this direction with these ladies? It doesn't make sense. The only reason it would make sense from a behind the scenes standpoint is if, he got a deal made with Saraya. Well, not Saraya, but he got a deal made with Merecdes, to have her come back, or not come back, but come in and basically be the one that's behind the whole, invaders thing and all that. And hey, we're the established talent that, has to be brought in to basically clean up your guys' act, to basically make you guys look good when it should be the other way around. So that might be something that they do. That might be another thing that they've done, and that's why we got this heel turn suddenly, because maybe there is a deal that was put into place for Merecdes to show up and maybe reveal herself as, hey, I'm the leader. I'm the reason this is happening. I'm the Hulk Hogan, the Hollywood Hogan of the group, the CEO of the group. But we'll see. We'll see what they do. But again, I would say, as the old saying goes, even, and this goes for all wrestling promotions when they do things like this, to give it time. To give it time to see where they go with it, and whether or not, Ruby, like I said, ends up in that position to where she's kind of like that talent that you think would defect and join, her colleagues that were that she was, that basically all have, something in common with her, all have in common of being, former WWE stars, or she would be that person. She would be that person that basically stays and sides with the originals because she feels more at home now than she did anywhere else. So we'll see what they do. We'll see what they do. Again, it is interesting that they're going in this direction with Saraya and Toni Storm. Ruby being that wild card of will she, won't she? Again, I'm leaning more towards the fact that she's going to stay with the originals because she's been there longer, and that, like I said, she probably feels more at home, there, more comfortable. And I've got a feeling that if they do get anybody to join with Saraya and Toni, it's either going to be Merecdes Mone, the former Sasha Banks, or it's going to be Athena, the former Ember Moon, the Ring of Honor Women's Champion, who, even though she's Ring of Honor, doesn't mean she can't be on AEW television. She's been on Dark and Dark Elevation, so why not have her join up and be part of this group? So my thought process is this. If they don't do Ruby joining with them, they're going to do Athena joining with them. Athena's going to appear and join them because she has that in common with them. And we're going to have Ruby be, like I said, that one, person you would think because of her past history, coming from the same company that they did, joining with the originals, because not only has she been there longer, but she's more at home, as if she could be looked at as a homegrown talent herself. But the exception being she's not. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what occurs. But let me know what your thoughts are, guys, on the Saraya Toni heel turn. Where do you think it is leading? Do you think it's leading to Ruby joining up with them and growing that faction even more, or do you think Ruby's going to be in that position to where she's going to lean more in favor of the AEW originals being with them? And do you think this is also probably set up for Merecdes Mone, formerly Sasha Banks, to come in, maybe reveal she's behind it? And that's why we got the heel turn, maybe because Tony Khan was able to get some kind of deal worked out in some way with Merecdes. And do you think Athena might join up with the group to help, boost their numbers as outsiders and all that came from up north? What do you guys think? Let me know what your thoughts are down below. Comment if you like. Love to hear from each and every one of you on this. And until next time, I'm out, and you will get a podcast version of this.